Has anybody ever marched at a parade before?
They might put me up third. I think it's the first person going on right now.
I think so.
If I'm still listening to this and the second person goes on, will you let me know?
Sure.
Thank you.
Make it even more.
Hey Sarah, it's you now.
You're gonna be.
I'm on right now? Yeah, holy shit. I'm coming!
You can take me on a date and watch me mark the whole place. But now
Let me break it down to you this way. I'm a lesbian. Just in case you haven't picked up on that. I want to bring everybody on board with me. That's what you're working with here. I'm a lesbian. But it did take me a little bit to gain entry. It did. I wouldn't wear the cargo pants. I wasn't going to do it. This body type's not made for cargo pants, but once they felt the firm grip of my handshake, bam! Expedited that paperwork, took me right in. I even got a free oil change. I had been dreaming about being a lesbian since I was 19 years old, and I fell in love with my unsuspecting roommate. And when I finally came out, I thought, there was going to be this sisterhood. They were going to welcome me with open arms. The Indigo Girls would be playing on that maybe there would be a lot of affirming language, a lot of hugs, hair braiding. There was none of that. There is none of that. Basically, what I encountered was some old jaded dykes. It was like I was the billy goat and they were the troll. I was just trying to get over that rainbow bridge and they were just standing there saying, "Take off your pants."
Go and talk to performers afterwards. I'm an artist, and I know that we live on feedback and comments. Show? Oh my God, are you all right? Are we okay?
There's a little hole back there. I'm okay, everybody. Don't do it again.
And without further ado,
That's gonna. We're taping for a documentary right now, so if you don't want to be in it. That's the time.
Yeah, real.
I don't think there's a better opening than me falling down.
no,
so.
I'm gonna let you. Sarah McMahon.
I'm a little bit crass, and I might say words that are not appropriate for children. So if you, I see there's some children here, which I wasn't quite expecting, which is great, but I just want to give you that opportunity if you would like to remove them.
Thank you.
I want to admit to you guys, since we're all talking tales of school, I graduated from a really small town in Wisconsin called Clayton. 450 people. Graduated in 1994, so those of you that are good at math know I'm old. That's okay. 1994, nobody was out in my high school, not a single person. Ellen, I think, came out after that. I had already had a child at that point, so she didn't help me.
It's not that long ago, I was a straight woman living in rural Wisconsin, dealing blackjack, having 2 children in a straight marriage, and I felt completely stuck. And there was nothing, there was no arts, there was no entertainment. I mean, if it was after midnight, you could go to the bar, you could go to Walmart. And at that, you had to drive probably a half an hour. So when I came onto the scene that was just ripe with art, and not only just art, but like queer art, I was so inspired by these people.
Where did you start when you were like, I want to make this movie?
I remember it started at the University of Minnesota. I did a show there. Up until that point, I had done a lot of just stand-up, at different coffee shops and bars. But that was my first queer event, and it was the first time I saw queer art, talking about being queer, talking about things, and I was just basically blown away. I think because I knew that I was gay for so long, and I was so scared to do anything about it, that when I finally came out, I just kept wanting to tell everyone that I was gay. I was at such a kind of juxtaposition in my life where I present as a straight woman because that's just how I look and that's how I act. But I'm very much a gay woman, and I very much want to be considered a gay woman.
No, I did dye my hair dark and try to get tattoos and really tried to butch it up for a while because people were not reading me as a lesbian. And then I just fucking gave up. I am who I am, whatever. But thank you.
I want people to know that I'm gay. It's not that that matters, but I want my audience to find me. I want to reach somebody who's living in a small town in North Dakota and there's no other gay people. And I want them to maybe find my stuff on YouTube and feel like a connection with me. I mean, even for me, up until that point, I had been out probably 5-6 years. But as a queer person, even living 20 miles out of the Twin Cities, I had never heard of these people. And I would have wanted to have seen their shows. And I thought, God, we need to tell this story. I need to tell this story. We have so much going on in Minneapolis. We need to show Minneapolis. I think that's kind of how it all came to be.
Who was the first person?
Shannon Blowtorch.
No apologies for the way I be.
I had never really met someone like Shannon before, as far as I don't know any DJs,
Right.
And she just seems so confident, and she has so much swagger, and she has all these tattoos, and she looks kind of
Badass.
Yeah. But then we had this event for all these various different kinds of people, a lot of older people, a lot of middle-aged people, and she spun all this awesome 70s, 80s pop music, and I didn't anticipate that from her. I thought she would be I'm gonna play what I want to play, and she got the whole room going. She had a really fun when you could catch her smile, it just really struck me.
Hi, I'm Shannon Blowtorch. I am a DJ, a sound engineer, a producer, a stage manager, a little bit of everything. I cannot remember when I got it. I'm guessing probably 10 years ago or longer. I just really love the city. It's a good city. It's been good to me. Helped me develop a career. I've met a lot of really good people here. I am pretty proud of Minneapolis and what it's got to offer. And I feel like there's a little something for everybody in this community. No matter what music type you're into, if you're into theater, if you're into dance, if you're into making music, you're into just throwing parties, it's somewhere where you can make a living being an artist.
Every
started in the music industry when I was 18.
Okay. What kind of bands?
Crazy punk rock bands, and I was the dancer. Kind of like what Susie Sue used to do for the Sex Pistols back in the 70s.
That's cool.
Shannon is amazing. She's like, she's like the cock. And I mean that C-A-U-L-K. As in she's like, fills in the gaps where they are. She's knowing what's going on behind the scenes with any venue we play, any sound guy. She's given us a lot of tips to be less hated as a group of 3 loud women, which is a thing that happens. You know, people are like, oh, they're just these loud bitches or whatever.
It's amazing. She definitely, when she became a member of Girl Party, she stepped us up 10 notches. She got us wireless mic. She basically made us, our credibility skyrocket.
Girl Party.
Oh yes, thank you.
I knew those girls. I've done sound for them. Did sound for them at the Triple Rock. I remember talking to them and being like, oh, girls, can I give you some advice? You guys are amazing, but... And I gave them some pointers, you know? And they were just like, so I don't think people do that a lot. Or do it to them, because they're fucking badass. We get along really incredibly. I feel like everybody's family. They all feel like my little sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the knowledge that I have from the music industry, I pass on to them. You know, like, hey, let's all get wireless mics. And this is how you make feedback happen at soundcheck. This is how you talk to the monitor guy. This is how you tell them what you want. These are the hand signals. Like, yeah, and they teach me a lot. Mm-hmm. We all learn from each other. They're incredible women.
I think she's a great member for the message she brings and for her hard work, and she's also just good at what she does. Obviously, she has her own name, she has her own following. She's Shannon fucking Blowtorch.
I can't. Are you doing this audio thing? I was wondering.
Yeah.
This is the reality of it. This is what you get, people. when you ask for behind the scenes, Shannon Blowtorch.
What's it like working with Shannon, or how did you become friends, or?
Shannon actually came up to us. She approached us and was like, what's up, my name is Shannon. And she had all this energy, and I just remember being immediately like, whoa, that's a lot of human being. That's a special person. We always kind of like respected her and found out more about her. And then one day we needed a DJ for Girl Party, and we called her. Suppose I knew I was different when all the little girls had crushes on me until they figured out I was a fucking girl. The boys didn't like that.
No, that's funny. How did you have any like girlfriends or any queer relationships in high school, or was that like out of high school?
Yeah, when I was 15.
Okay.
No, 13, 14? Something like that.
You grew up in Wisconsin, right?
Wisconsin and Colorado.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how was it for you?
Oh, it's all small town bullshit.
Yeah.
It was horrible. I was on the streets when I was 15 so I had to go through the whole street life, the whole social services. I mean, I got sent to a mental health facility because I was out of the closet.
Really?
Yes.
They wanted to say that
They
you're
sent me to a mental
health
health facility. My social worker was like, they're sending you here because you are gay.
Wow.
They're going to try to put you on drugs. Don't take them. She's like, they're going to say the P word. They're going to say Prozac.
Yeah.
Don't fucking take it. The best social worker in the world.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah, they sent me there because I was gay. They didn't get it. So I just hit that last generation of where it actually started changing. I hit the last part of the generation where it was horrible to fucking come out. And I feel like it's a little different now, which is amazing and awesome. I definitely don't want to be branded as a queer DJ.
Yeah.
And I've been very conscious of that and just don't want it to happen. It's because it's not true. I can play parties to anything.
Yeah.
Any demographic out there. And I feel like once you get pigeonholed into anything, whether it's a queer DJ, whether it's just a hip-hop DJ, whether it's a house DJ, or whether you're just a party promoter, or whether if you get pigeonholed into anything, then you're stuck there. You're trying to break that mold. I just kind of do a little bit of everything. So I'm a DJ that just happens to be queer, not a queer DJ.
And when I thought about who do I want, I'm like, I have to get Shannon. She seemed like the linchpin to me. And I realized she's everywhere. And everyone in the queer community knows who she is. So my thought was, I'm going to go to Shannon first. And she was like, yeah, I can dig it. And then she was like, who else do you have in mind? And the only two other people I had in mind at that time were Kevin and Tiffany. What about yourself, your name, what you do, where you live?
Okay, all right, I'm Tiffany Roberts, and or Tiffany Parks Roberts, or Oopsie Daisy, or Tiff Dynamite, or Go-Go Pimp Tiff, whatever I feel like at the time. I live in Minneapolis, and I'm a cabaret performer, so I do all sorts of different things. I dance, I sing, I do, I clown, I do aerial work, and acrobatics, and gosh, anything that sounds fun at the time. I started doing burlesque in 2000, actually. It was a really long time ago, before a lot of burlesque troupes were in Minnesota. I had a show at Club Metro, which is a lesbian bar in St. Paul, which is no longer there. I had a girly show. The guy who was managing the place was very smart, and he was like, oh, we should get your girls, we'll get your friends in here, a little dancey dance. And I was like, that's a good idea. So we just had them come in and dance at first, and then I started emceeing the show because I was kind of introducing it. I thought that'd be more fun if I introduced the girls. That would be really fun, you know. So then one of my dancers, one Shannon Blowtorch, said, you're kind of like our pimp. You're kind of like our go-go pimp. So then I had this moniker Go-Go Pimp Tiff for the longest time, which I eventually got out of. I tried to drop it because it didn't make any sense in any other context whatsoever, so I was able to drop it after a number of years. And I was always a huge fan of my grandmother in the 1940s, and I was like, oh man, I was like, it'd be really cool if we could do like an old school burlesque show like that with feather bands and everything like that. I thought that'd be really cool, but I didn't really know how to do it. And so it ended up looking a little bit more like neo-burlesque because I couldn't force the girls into, 1940s format all of a sudden, you know.
She was the host for a comedy contest at a gay men's bar, and I was the only lesbian. And she was amazing. I think what I remember most about her was her amazing costuming. And she had like this bustier on and this little hat. She really had my back because it was all other male contestants, all males in the audience. I was like, finally my people. And I had done this whole set about like lesbian stuff, lesbian sex, lesbian isms. I got there and I was just like, oh my God, it's all men. And I love gay men, but they do not want to listen to a bunch of vagina talk. Some, for a little bit they will, but not for the whole time. And I wasn't really good enough at that time to like go off the cuff or like, oh, I'm not going to drop that set. I'm going to do my whatever set, So I just forged through with all my lesbian jokes. And they were nice. It wasn't like I didn't get any laughs and I didn't win that night. But Tiff really like still tried to like back me up. She's like, I was back there, girl. I knew what you were talking about, and I was like, thank you. And she just seemed like somebody out of a different world to me, and so confident and so funny. She seemed like she had been a circus performer like from the second she came out of the womb or something. Can you talk to us about your sexuality?
Sure. Well, I started out, I guess I was slow to grow into my sexuality, and I was less interested in that stuff than I was in silliness and fantasy and things, and not even a sex way. I just mean like unicorns, right? And I started to grow into it kind of in college, and I just assumed automatically that I liked boys. And then I dated men for several years. I got married. I was married for a few years, and then I got divorced because I was like, that's it. I'm a gay. I'm totally sure of this. Absolutely sure of this now. So I dated women for 10 years. I feel like I have kind of a complicated sexual attraction, but I know that masculinity has a lot to do with it. So that seems to be the main focus for me, is masculinity, whether it comes from a woman or from a man. That seems to be the main focus. I mean, I've always found something empowering about being on stage. I mean, like, look at me, no matter what capacity, right? But then when you get on stage and you get pretty well naked or all the way naked, and you're like, this is what my body looks like, no matter what it looks like. If you're a little skinny thing, or if you're a bigger thing, or if you have big boobs and a big butt, or opposites. It doesn't matter what you look like. It's burlesque is more about the performance itself. there's just so many different kinds of people in there, and they all look different. And you get to go on stage, and you get to say, "This is what I look like, and I'm displaying this fun talent for you, and enjoy this thing that I'm doing. You need to be naked and look however you look," and everybody gets super jazzed about it.
Thank you for joining
Super
Chaos
psyched.
this evening,
You know?
ladies and gentlemen. I have to leave with a statement.
This is me.
Meaning never gonna live how you decide. IDENTIFY. I'm gonna make my own meaning. Never gonna live how you decide. Yo, you can't put me in a fucking box. Dudes know I run these streets like the locks. Sophomore effort, I'm hotter than the desert. You gotta take the pain to appreciate the pleasure. My words are like keys to a treasure. Sever all ties if they think they can do it better. Yeah, man, whatever. Cry me a river. Two-spirit MC, you Indian giver. Stand and deliver, heat wave in the winter. Constant annoyance like a motherfucking splinter.
Kevin's amazing. What I like about Kevin is he is not afraid. He is not afraid to be different than everybody else, no matter what.
Originally from Cleveland, but he's in the Twin Cities, trying to make a name for himself. So I want y'all to put your hands together and give some love to Jenna!
What up, y'all? What up, y'all? My name is Chaos, and I'm a gay-ass rapper. Ha! Let's go. Yo. Hey. Check. Free bass on the beat. Fight. Free bass on the beat now. Chaos on the heat, yo. Check it out, yo. Hey. Cross up. CBS on the lost fuck. Bring it to the house, get crossed up. Songs in my mouth, I'm crossed up. Get my sauce nuts. 20 ready to I'm lost, but strong boss. Kanye shrug, lost cause, Charlie Doug. Turn at the world to who they love. Sing to the hands about who they love. Give a fuck what y'all keep crossing. Battle man, reckless, Kanye, Dawson, Pentagon, Geico. By Psycho, Frank Ocean, George Michael. Might bring it to the phone with a mic.
Kevin?
Hey, here you go. Down one more.
Okay.
Down one more. Hi.
Hi.
Down one more. Yeah, you're doing that. Sure.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Kevin, this is a really good spot, so I'm just going to get you started.
It's your boy Kevin Chaos Moore, or Chaos. I am a native of Cleveland, Ohio, aka the Mistake on the Lake. When I was, a little kid, and I was in elementary school, I think the first artistic thing that I ever did was a play. And I actually played the part of Dr. Martin Luther King in a Black History Month kind of thing or whatever. And I had to recite a part of the I Have a Dream speech. And this was like when I was maybe in the 4th grade or something. In the 6th grade, I began to write rhymes and stuff. I wouldn't say, no one really encouraged me to go down the path of hip hop. I kind of brought that on myself, but my parents did. They definitely encouraged me to write and to do poetry, because I think at that time they didn't know the similarity between the two. My urban studies teacher took the class out on a field trip. We went down to Cleveland State University to watch this performance by the Black Poetic Society. They were so articulate, they were so passionate, and it was like all the elements of acting, were present within their performances. And so I remember turning to my teacher and saying, hey, this is what I want to do when I grow up. This is the perfect marriage of all the things that I grew up, having a passion for, the acting, the writing, all that. And it seemed like it would be a comfortable place for me to explore stuff, or to explore issues such as, GLBT issues, or, issues about HIV, or issues about sexuality, period. Because it just seemed like, nothing was kind of off limits there, you know what I mean? And it was palatable, It's like some people, some people, if they heard it on a song, or heard about gay issues or something on a song, it might not have been appealing to them. It just didn't help with their groove. But hearing it in a spoken word piece, not necessarily in a rhythm, but just as a part of this other thing that has all these other elements, it seemed like it was digested a little, easier by the public. So one of the first poems that I did in this, in an open mic setting was about, you know, being gay. It was a poem called Mad at Me, actually, and
Do you know it at all?
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, stop crying. I don't want you around me either, quiet as it's kept. I didn't tell you that I had to tell you everything. Oh, so now you feel I'm a conniver? I don't give a damn that you snicker at my homies, or the fact that they're dressed alike. But for so many of these hardcore fellas to hate fags so much, they always have the hots for dykes, or three-lays, melees of that sort. See, you need to think of what the next person is thinking when you're playing your sports. I'm calling you dirty because you are what you eat, and I wasn't put here to covet your feet, nor live in your life, nor stand in those shoes. So shut that shit up, because this is who I am. Hey, at least I'm not out hoeing with the fellas just to take my rep up a few notches, refusing to wear my condom and put my face up in different crotches and being the real whore just to trick for some watches. Now watch this. And watch out for what some of those smart folks call that gay disease. Just to let you know, you need to check up on how your little brother gets pleased, and your cousin, your sister, your barber, and the kid that smokes weed with you on your work breaks. That may be a little too much to handle. Hold the candle to reality and you will see that it ain't everything that you might always want it to be, but who are you or I to say what should make the next person happy? Don't speak about what you know nothing about. The path that you take works for you, but individuals have their own route. I'll take that. Or can you take it at all? And being the big man around town don't necessarily mean that you got the biggest balls, dog. Word. Hurts, don't it? I even used to holler at your girlfriend and even she said she wanted. And so do you once you look back upon it. That's why you're mad at me. And the reception that I got after I did that, I think I went off into the corner and kind of cried a little bit and then came back out like, all personal. But yeah, it was like after I did that, you know what I mean? And I didn't know where the crowd was going to go with it. I didn't know how they were going to receive it, but just my spirit had told me, you've got to read this tonight, this first time. They have to know who you are. The first time I did anything kind of gay was when I was in kindergarten. But I don't think that I connected it to sex. You know what I'm saying? It was more like a curiosity thing. I was like, damn, what is this I'm feeling? And then there was this one guy that I was, we bumped heads all the time. It was like if he wasn't the class president, I had to be the class president. You know what I mean? It was that kind of like thing. And his name was Marvin Watson. If he sees this, oh my God. His name is Marvin Watson. I think he's straight, but I don't know. He was like really tall, had the biggest Dumbo ears ever. But there was just something about him that I couldn't stand him, but it was like I wanted to be around him. I wanted to see him. I wanted us to be friends, even though we couldn't get along. I came out to my mother kind of at an early age, like around 16, I think. Because I was tired of lying about, who was calling the house and all these new names. And they're like, okay, you didn't go to school with him. He just stay around. Like, who's Deontay? Like, Mom, he's this guy. And my mother, the first thing she said, because I'm crying, I'm just crying, bawling, telling her. And she's like, why are you crying? She said, you're still my son. I love you. She said, we knew there was something special about you. We didn't know what it was, but we just knew there was something about you that was special. Now as an adult, I identify myself as a same gender loving male. A lot of people don't like that term, but I think it's perfect because it describes me. That's who I am. I don't feel like I'm queer because queer is I always thought of that as like meaning strange, or I think that is the technical definition for it, you know what I mean? And I don't think that anything about my sexuality is strange. And that's just one of those words that I haven't been able to bring myself to reclaim. But I understand everyone else's comfortability with it, you know what I mean? And I'm okay with that.
I probably became aware of my sexual identity somewhere in middle school. And I don't think that I knew what to call it, but I knew that I didn't feel the same way as the other girls did. It's not to say that I never wanted to date little boys or that I found men attractive, but I definitely had stronger connections with women. And I was really afraid to talk about that. And there was really no outreach. There wasn't, the guidance counselor was a man. I certainly wasn't going to go to him with some of my questions. And I just stuffed it. And I became, the all-American sports person. I played volleyball. I played college volleyball. I had a great time growing up there. So we are coming into Clayton. Now this is the one-horse town that I grew up in from 2nd grade until I graduated from high school. And if you blink, you'll miss it, truly. So we're at my high school, Clayton High School. Oh, we got some. So we're at Clayton High School, my high school. It's a K through 12 school in Clayton, Wisconsin, population 545, I think. So if we look here on down this one street that we have, going down Main Street, that white church there is the church that I was confirmed at, the church my children were baptized in. And this is Main Street. This is it. One street, and as we travel down, there's now a hair salon, which is new, and 2 bars. So what more do you need in a town? And I just came back to my class reunion last summer, and I really didn't I wanted to, but I didn't, because I hadn't been back since I think my coming out was so marred with Joe's death that things were really blurry for a lot of people and really emotional and weird. Like it was really hard. People didn't really know what to say. I did just get on my Facebook. Somebody posted, when I had posted something about gay marriage, one person from this town said, "Oh, you're happy about that? Being gay is what killed your beautiful husband." And I blocked her and erased her, and that really hurt. But other than that person, everyone was so supportive. I was so glad I came. Everybody was so nice. I sat in my car kind of shaking, and I'm like, "Sarah, why are you afraid to go see people that you grew up with for 20 years, you know?" And we had a good time, and nobody was weird. And again, that's where I think sometimes you judge small people or small towns oh, they're not going to understand or they're not going to get it. And everybody was super cool. So I'm so glad that I did that. It was awesome.
All right. Did anyone at your reunion know you were a comedian?
Yeah, pretty much everyone. Actually, that was the funny part, because I remember I walked into Charlie's bar and I heard somebody whisper to their spouse, who I didn't know, "She's the comedian." And I was like, "Oh, that's funny." I almost kind of felt like a celebrity, because people know I am because of Facebook. I haven't done anything back here, but everyone was so interested about it and thought it was so cool, and "We want to come up to the cities and see one of your shows." I'm like, "Oh my God, I would love that. That would be so much fun." I think they'd be shocked a little bit, because they haven't really, the last these people really had too much connection with me was I was a young mother in town, and I was on the board of community education, and I was selling concessions, and I was just like everyone else, working at the casino, raising their family, waiting every Friday for paychecks. But I think they would really like it. Then Shannon hooked us up with Maida. And we had emailed a little bit, and then we just had coffee, and we talked for 2 hours just about ourselves and our life and what I wanted to do with the movie. And I'm sure I ended up crying about something, because I always seem to cry about something. Oh. The first song I heard of hers was Stereotype, and I totally got hooked on it. I just loved it. I love that funk kind of sound she has. It's so needed in the world today, I think. We can't have enough of that.
I like to write soul music. Just honest soul music and fun music. Music that's gonna move you and make you think positive thoughts. Yeah. My world is on stage.
How do you feel when you're on stage performing?
Amazing. It's like being on drugs.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's just
you're not-
my, that's just my analogy of performing. And that's why I love it and I'm addicted to it. Like, send me to Hazelton for wanting to be on stage, because that's what I am addicted to, is performing. And trying to be with people who perform, and trying to perform for people who love it, and trying to make people laugh, and trying to make people smile, and trying to make people, you know, happy. Like, that's my addiction. And trying to make people want to be healthy through music or whatever, blah, blah, blah. You know, it sounds stupid.
No.
But, sorry. Guilty as charged. Throw me in a psych ward. That's what I'm addicted to.
Nightingale speak, nightingale fly, nightingale sing me a lullaby. Nightingale get me high, tell me everything is alright. Nightingale speak, nightingale fly, nightingale sing me a lullaby. Nightingale get me high, tell me the world will be alright.
You know, it's funny because, like, I've never identified with any, like, sexual preferences. Like, I've never been like, yes, I am straight. Or I've never, you know, declared anything.
Some things can never be changed. Things just can't stay the same. There's driving you insane. Nightingale speak, nightingale fly.
But in my mind, I've always questioned. And I've been married, and I've definitely had relationships with guys. But I've always been, you know, attracted to anybody. The queer community here in the Twin Cities have just, like, been so open and welcoming.
Yeah, hands down my favorite show, production, or gig that I've ever done is Grown and Sexy, and it's just incredible because this big room of everybody comes and celebrates Pride. Queers, allies, straight folks, trans-identified folks, and then the other two local promoters with me are Nadine Dubois and Sweet Pea. Grown and Sexy, the beautiful part is we're DJing it. I got First Avenue nightclub singing Like a Prayer. The entire building. What? Who can do that? You have 1,500 people in front of you and you're just like, hi, I want you to jump. Let's jump, everybody. Everybody starts jumping. Or I'm gonna shut the music off. I want you to sing. They're gonna sing. But they went on this beautiful adventure with you. So I'm usually high for a couple weeks off of that, and it's an amazing gig. And it's not corporate. And we get to showcase and experience talent from all over. So we fly people in. We're very selective on the local cast that performs at Grown and Sexy. So for instance, Dyke Studre can act as a troupe. that act as a troupe, but we love Dykes Do Drag, so we want them represented in the show. All right, so
So to make sure that,
Mary
yeah.
is hungry. There's I brought some donuts and fried chicken.
As one does.
My name is Heather Spear. I am the producer of Dykes Do Drag. We're currently having our 16th anniversary weekend, right in the middle of it right now. So we started doing the show in 1999, and to my knowledge, it's the longest running show of its kind, certainly in the area, and I haven't heard of anything else that has been as consistent for this long, really anywhere. So there are various ways that we like to call the show. It's a performance art queer cabaret. It's got a little burlesque, a little drag. It's got live performance, like live singing as well as lip syncing. There's very often dance pieces in it or video work. That's why I kind of bump it up a little notch to the performance art, in that it's not any kind of traditional drag show you've ever seen, which is funny that we have gotten to a place where we can actually say there is a traditional kind of drag show.
I am the Gentleman King. I am your host tonight. Every night of this little show we've been doing here just for about 15 years, just a minute or two. So Dykes Do Drag is I like to call it a queer performance art cabaret. So you get a little bit of everything. You've got some drag, you've got some burlesque, you've got some performance art, you've just got some fucked up shit going on just to make you think about things in a different way. So that's what we like to try and do here. So I'm glad you're all here experiencing it, though, people who are new and people who have been here before. So
what it's turned out to become over the past 16 years is really very much a community of performers who don't feel like they fit in anywhere else. That then also kind of opens up for an audience that doesn't feel like it is represented anywhere else.
Smooth as a jackknife, your butch can't even fly a kite. My butch sports class from a thrift store, your butch expensive hipster. My butch lift free advisor, your butch backwards sports visor. My butch do me like a bro, your butch just hang out with the bros. My butch has a tongue like velvet, your butch need to wear a helmet.
One of the favorite things that somebody had said about the show that I do is that they spent the whole first half of the show trying to figure out what gender everybody was, and then by the second half of the show they realized it didn't matter and they didn't care. So just performance of masculinity and femininity on stage can definitely be used to break down those assumptions that people carry every day. Where like, okay, you have long hair, so you're a female, and you have short hair, so you're a male. So your ears look like this. You've got Adam's apple. You've got big hands, small hands. And clothes, like those are all the markers that we unconsciously pick up in other people to put them into categories. And when you smish all of that together, whether it's by makeup, by surgery, by just the way you go through your life, it helps to break down those barriers. I never had anybody as a child to teach me how to be a girl. My mother has never she never shaved, she never wore makeup. My sister, who's 4.5 years older than I am, was pretty much gone from the house when I was an adolescent. I didn't really have friends of that variety, so I spent my whole life not wearing makeup, not shaving.
I don't even know where that came from.
And I've never really seen anything wrong with that.
Your brother, your lover, and your little boy.
Yeah. I don't really know who I'm fooling on that one. I am the Gentleman King, not the glam metal king. It's all wrong, but I'm really fascinated by this song, this daddy, brother, lover, and little boy song. So, I think I'm gonna sing it for you anyway, but maybe with a song that's a little bit more my style. Maybe the intention will come across anyway. Let's try this.
one of the great things about living in Minneapolis is that I feel like I can live my life as an out person and nobody does care. You know, my neighbors don't care, my workplaces don't care. Nobody is bothered by my behavior of, you know, holding my girlfriend's hand or kissing her and how we react. It's such a great city, and I think it's why we have so many terrific queer artists, because they are given the room to be able to do the work they want to do.
So part of the impetus for creating this piece was I had too many suits that were too big for me that I didn't want to get rid of. So I figured out how to layer them all. This one here was the first suit that I ever got myself.
And from the beginning, I've always liked to use the term gender blending. So really bringing together, you know, acknowledging that gender exists on this wide spectrum, and, you know, probably very, very few people are at either end of it, and most people are varying stages in between. And just to be able to represent that and portray that on stage as a way to both kind of have the audience have it broaden their mind as to what gender representation can be, both just in the general culture and also for themselves, and that you don't have to fit into any particular kind of box. You know, for my mind, when people say, but you have, you know, men in there and you have straight women, and to my mind, it's more about, dyke for me, or queers, is much more about kind of a social mindset and a way of viewing the world than specifically about who you want to sleep with or who you're attracted to. And that it has, you know, a social consciousness to it, that it has, you know, a feminist and, you know, kind of equality aspect to it. Just it's my ideals, I guess, I suppose, that incorporate into that word. So it's very often surprising when people come to the show and I'm like, well, there's all these other people in it, but I'm like, yeah, they're dykes too.
We've got some straight talk on queer comics tonight. So we've got two fabulous queer comics in the studio with us, Jake Amert and Sarah McPeck, who are some celebrated, award-winning local comedians. And they are very funny, both on stage and off stage. And so we're honored to have them in the studio. Thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having us. We're super excited. I'm talking about us like we're a married couple, but
oh, we're happy to be here.
I'm happy to be here.
You look great.
You look great.
I have a face for radio.
You could be married in a sort of
I have a body for radio. I have a face for TV.
Okay.
And Sarah, what are some of your comedy heroes?
Definitely Margaret Cho.
Yes.
Love her.
Yes. She's been on our program, not with me.
Really?
Sad to say, Dixie's had her on. It's my bucket list for the show.
Oh, I got to meet her this summer. And I totally had a moment about it because she is one of my idols. And they say never to meet your idols, and I know why, because you'll screw it up. And it was all I could do to not, like, hand her a direct link to all my comedy and try to shamelessly promote myself and tell her that we are probably best friends. But I didn't do any of that. I talked myself down the whole time. I was like, just be cool, just say hi. And she was very quiet, and I almost felt bad for meeting her because I've never done like a meet and greet with a real celebrity. I did shake her hand, and I decided I would say, you've been such an inspiration to me, because she truly has been an inspiration to me. And then they were ready to take my picture. And at the last minute, I didn't even realize what I was doing, but I put my arm around Margaret Cho, and I don't really realize how strong I am, and kind of pulled her in, which afterwards I was like, oh my God, you totally just invaded her personal boundary space, and she probably just thought you were some crazy white girl coming at her like a golden retriever. And the picture, when she's looking at me, she does look a little frightened. But I got to meet her, and it was amazing. And I sat in the front row that night and was just totally like staring at her the whole time. And I'm sure if I ever meet her again, she will probably remember you're the creepy girl from Minnesota.
And then run.
And run.
Yeah.
And I'll just chase her.
Is being a queer comedian, is the comedy a part of a way of, I don't know, like a release valve for that, that frustrations and then all of the added stresses that we go through as queer people?
I do, and I think that gay people, we want to be made fun of and laughed at. And I think, you know, you go to a show and with all respect, you see the comedian be like, the difference between men and women, blah, 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 and we can't really relate to that. So if someone's talking about us and making fun of us in a way that's not mean necessarily, they love that. I mean, like I've been to shows where my friends have gone to the straight community, they're like, do more gay jokes. Make fun of us because you feel like you're included.
Yeah, you see yourself reflected on that stage. It's visibility and representation then, yeah. Well, thank you both very much for taking the time to come in, especially when you have a gig coming up in a half hour.
Woo!
So,
Thank
good
you.
luck. Break a leg.
Thank you.
But it was a lot of fun. And I stopped myself a couple times from swears. So my mom is probably very happy about that because she says I talk like a trucker, and I do. It's my dad's fault.
When it first happened, you can't be afraid. I was like, holy shit. I am urinating on this young lady's face. But she didn't seem to care, so I just kept going and found out that sometimes happens when you're having sex with the right people. It's a little embarrassing. If I were a Barbie doll, I think that the package would say large and lovely, complete with a coach purse and a water feature. Nothing wrong with that. It doesn't happen every time.
Yeah, whenever.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Martel. I'm a spoken word artist, writer, actor, multimedia performer, and also an events coordinator and curator. I also do videography, work with button poetry, and just generally think arts gets me very excited.
I met Nick at a show at the University of Minnesota where I first met Kevin. And his spoken word always stayed with me.
Yeah, the piece itself is called Transphobia, and it stemmed from an actual experience I had, unfortunately, here in the Twin Cities. And I think in some ways the reason it hit me so hard is because overall the Twin Cities has been such a positive place for me. But I was doing urban fieldwork for a class of mine, and I was in downtown Minneapolis. Football game had just let out. And I looked a little out of place. I wasn't wearing any purple. And I had like my little notebook, and I was just standing on the sidewalk with this like stream of people going past me, and I was taking notes, and I became aware of someone breathing over my shoulder, and I could just smell the alcohol. And that was scary in of itself. They started kind of quizzing me like, what are you doing? And I just was like, oh, it's urban fieldwork, and kept it kind of brief. And then I thought they'd gone away, and then they approached me again behind once more, and started drilling me, and they're like, what are you? Are you a boy or a girl? And that was my first real confrontation with somebody that was a total stranger, and it didn't matter that I was surrounded by people, because there's so many cases of violence against a lot of people, but especially trans people, where there are a lot of witnesses and bystanders and no one does anything. It was jarring. It drove home a lot of the fear that I've been carrying around. And because it stuck with me so much, and because it pulled up all of the fears that I had internalized from stuff that had happened to other people that I heard about, it was something that pretty much inevitably was going to end up in a poem. Pretty much anything major does for me in my life end up in a poem eventually, because it's how I work through things. And I also felt like it was an important story for me to share. Tonight, at my apartment, miles away from that light rail station, I can still feel him dripping down my spine. He demands, "Hey freak, what are you, boy or girl?" I keep looking out the window expecting to see him, but there is never anything there. This does not mean there is no one there. I walk to the bedroom with my back against the wall because the human field of vision is only 120 degrees. That leaves 240 unseen. How many people have been attacked in their own homes? My room is a crime scene hungry for a victim. My bed is a burial plot. I struggle to breathe beneath the sheets, and the threat of him curls itself tightly into the small of my back. Fear of the dark has become my bedtime ritual, like brushing my teeth or washing my face. Lock the door, slip the deadbolt, check twice beneath the bed, watch the minutes drag by on the clock. Nighttime is where we set our crime shows. It is a place too easily associated with fear. How terrifying then when we realize the worst monsters walk just as freely in the daytime, call sunshine their playground. To the man who demanded, "Boy or girl?" Your anger is only as strong as the fear you built it with. I imagine you do not sleep well at night. That when your eyelids drift shut, you see me dripping through your keyholes, slipping in beneath your doors, stealing through every window in your house. I am your creaking floorboards, the shadows folded into your curtains, the draft of air across your cheek, and you will tie your sheets into knots, trying to toss me from your bed. I will stay here all night. I have nowhere else to go. We are only humans, invading each other's dreams, trying to reconcile our fears. So I can say this and mean it. I forgive you.
How do you feel reading that now?
It's always interesting for me reading or revisiting poems that I wrote a while back. And the thing too, the original draft of this did not have the apology in it, because that's not a place I was at. And then it got to a place where it was, and I think for that reason, like, it's still something I relate to, but it's much more distant, because I was such a different person when that happened to me, and I would have a whole different level of confidence and appreciation for how I'd want to handle a situation like that were it to happen again. And I think there's definitely the part of me that doesn't put up with other people and their nonsense. But I also have been able to approach ignorance and hatred with a lot more compassion than I used to be able to, and to realize that that hostility and that ignorance is about them.
I also identify as trans, and I use he, him, his pronouns, but I was designated female at birth. And in this space, we ask that you respect people's pronouns that they use, as well as other identities that are expressed in the space. That respect goes a huge ways into creating what we like to call here at Outspoken, safer space.
Outspoken is a queer open mic and cabaret show. The basis of the show is to celebrate and empower queer identities, and where any medium goes, we encourage people to experiment in different mediums they haven't done before. We also welcome any and all identities, including allies, in the audience as well as on our stage. We also do like little skits throughout. We have jillion costume changes. Like, I show up at the show with suitcases for this show.
At this point, we're going to do something a little interactive, yeah?
Yeah.
That was oddly Minnesotan for me. I don't know where that came from.
The winter's getting
I'm
you.
losing it. Not because I'm going Minnesotan, I was losing the accent. Also, this is like my super last stand against winter outfit. I'm gonna just like go out that door and be like, winter, bring it.
And we definitely bill it as a safer space, which is a space that is safe but also real. We want to acknowledge that because we don't censor the stage, things can be said that are difficult, hurtful, but we believe in a space that works through that together. So it's been a lot of experimentation with that. But it's been really rewarding being able to do that. And Paula and I just really felt when we started it, and we still feel, that there's a need for it. and a need for that expression and that space to be owned by queer people. And I also feel really grateful. We run out of the Fox Egg Gallery, which is at 38th in Chicago, and Kate Bailey runs that and is a fabulous human being, has opened her space and gallery to so many different shows. It's just out of generosity, and it's an incredible space that just has a certain energy to it. And it's been a great home for the show.
Try me, baby, settle down. Why you wanna get? You need to stay in your lane.
So, as much as I always knew that I was probably a lesbian, I had a really hard time coming to terms with it. In college, for a little bit, I thought that maybe I would come out. I fell in love with my college roommate. And I really started to realize, like, holy shit, I'm probably a lesbian. And had no idea what to do about it. But I thought, well, if she would become a lesbian, then I would have somebody to be a lesbian with, and then I would come out. I would tell my parents that I was gay. I would tell people that I was gay. I tried to be kind of smooth about things, which... if you ask anyone that knows me, I'm the most unsmooth person in the world. And probably for about 2 weeks straight, every morning Megan would go out to shower. I would start getting ready, and I would gear up our CD player, those round things with holes in the middle. And I would play REO Speedwagon, I Can't Fight This Feeling Any Longer. And I would wait till I heard her coming in, so she would make sure that she heard all of the special words in the song. And when I heard her at the door, I would push play. And I remember one day we're standing there getting ready, and I can faintly remember hearing the I can't fight this feeling any longer. And I'd kind of look over and see if she was getting the hint. And the song's going on, and she looks at me and says, how come every morning you play this CD? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I didn't know that I was. Silly me, I didn't really pay attention to it. And I remember that really embarrassed me. And I almost think like I felt busted. And I should ask her about that today if she had any clue of what I was trying to do. But I tried that as a way of letting her know, and I never told her anything else. That was the first girl I fell in love with. And then that scared the shit out of me. And she got a boyfriend, and it completely devastated me. And I probably hated her, and I probably projected, and I know that I acted like an asshole. And I decided that I better start dating someone because at that point I had started to worry that maybe some of my hints had gotten to her, and maybe she didn't want to be friends with me anymore, or she thought that I was gay, or other people in our friend circle. I felt that there were starting to be whispers about me. And I took that opportunity to squash those when I ran into my ex-boyfriend from high school. And we started dating, and I was a 21-year-old virgin, or a 20-year-old virgin at the time. As much as I found men attractive and flirted with them, it really wasn't hard for me to stay a virgin for so long, because I was never like, oh, I wish I could have that cock inside of me. Like, that just never happened. I will say, though, that I understand maybe a pansexuality more, because I know with my husband, I did truly love him. And I fell in love with the person and his spirit, and he was a good man. And we had 2 children, and he was a great father. And we struggled while being young and poor, and we made it work for a long time. I was living in Clayton, Wisconsin. I had 0 lesbian friends. I had 0 gay friends because there were no gay or lesbian people that I knew about. And the L Word came, and I remember whatever night the L Word was on, everyone in my family better clear out. I made sure the kids were fed. I made sure they had a movie. I made sure that they were out of the house. That was my time. And it wasn't just watching the women together. And as much as like the sex scenes were, they definitely did something for me, it was watching all of the other scenes. It was watching the women cook together and hang out at the Planet, and they were like a family in of themselves. There was such a support there that I craved, and the more I watched it, the more I was like, I can't lie to myself anymore. Minneapolis was like the closest big city, so I figured I would try to hit a chat room towards the Twin Cities. And I found a chat room that was aptly called Gay Living in a Straight Relationship. And I'm like, well, that's me. And I was blown away at how many women belonged to this group. And each and every one of them was married, had children, and were struggling the exact same way I was with their sexual identity. I struggled so much with the fact that I had honestly made a commitment to my husband. When I married my husband, I had 0 thought that I wouldn't not be married to him the rest of my life. I came from a broken home. And I always thought, God, if I just could have had 2 parents that stayed together. If I just could have had a little bit more normal childhood, everything would have been better. And I really, 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 really wanted that for my children. But I felt, at what point do I get to do me? I felt like I was really being an asshole. I was really being selfish. I'm not trying to be a martyr, but I definitely am raised from women who give so much of themselves to everyone else. Great women. And not that a woman that takes something for themselves isn't great, but women that put their children first, that put their marriages first, that put their husband first, that put their home first. I mean, my grandma, bless her heart, every meal she would make, she would serve my grandpa, the boys first, then the girls and the children, and then she would stand in the kitchen for most of my youth and eat standing up in case anyone needed anything. And she would be the last one to eat. And that's kind of what I came from. And it was so hard for me to be that selfish. I felt like I was being selfish. And finally, I realized it's not selfish. As far as I know, this is the only life that I am going to have. And I don't want to be 80 years old and my kids are having their own families and everyone's living their own life but me. I have not lived the life that I want to live because I have lived the life everyone expected of me. My husband was my biggest supporter. Because for a long time I had talked to him about the fact that I thought I was bisexual, and that was the other thing. I had never had sex with a woman. I kind of started making out with some women who I kind of found there are a lot of women who I like to call liquid lesbians. And at the bars, and they start having a few cocktails, it's kind of sexy and fun to kiss another girl and to get attention from people. So I had kind of done that, and I won't say that I didn't enjoy it. But I knew that I wanted more. And I went down the phone book with my family and I called everyone up one by one. And it basically went like, so I just want to let you know that I've been struggling with this for a long time. This is my phone here. And I'm gay. And he knows that, and I am going to separate, and I'm going to pursue this. And I'm so lucky because everyone in my family pretty much said the same thing. Are you happy? And I said yes. And they're like, well, then that's all we care about. Everything else will work itself out. And my auntie and uncle said, hey, why don't you come and move in with us for a year and get your life started again? And you don't have to pay us rent. And we'll help you with the kids. And I couldn't feel more blessed to have the family I have. I had such a support system. When I moved and left, I had never been so lonely in my life. I'm not kidding you. I have it in my...
Can we have a round of applause for Maggie Barris, that cute little comic back there? I've been in the comedy world about 3-4 years now. I'm an improviser. I started improvising, then I started doing stand-up, and I love them both. She's been really kind to me and let me open for her or MC for her, and I just have to say, like, when you see her talk about sex, because she loves sex talk. She really does. She gets really excited about it.
Maggie. Maggie is awesome. Maggie is a lesbian comedian that I met just doing stand-up. She's been on like Last Comic Standing. She's done lots of shows. She's very well known. And she's so funny and genuine and just she's very refreshing to me. She doesn't talk too much about being a lesbian, which I think is totally okay. I mean, she doesn't deny it. She talks about it. But she comes up with these random, funny, just delightfully funny jokes, I think.
Listen, being gay is no big deal anymore. No one cares. Like, I equate being gay with being left-handed. It's like there's not as many of us. We're just like everyone else. We just scissors different. That's all.
The rumor has it that you are a lesbian.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I don't just deliver papers.
Have you always been out in your comedy when you started?
Yeah, in fact, I think the very first time I did comedy was kind of a exclusively gay set, and I bombed so bad that it took me a long time to get back into any like gay jokes. And I never, like denied it or anything, but I always wanted to be a comic. I never wanted to be a gay comic.
Sure.
And now I would say I have a ton of gay material.
Yeah.
Which I
times
like.
have changed a lot though, even from '99 to now. I think, anyways,
amazing.
It's been ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Minneapolis.
Okay, so in the city, did you go to like city high schools?
I was in Minnehaha Academy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. When did you realize that you were into ladies?
When I went to St. Kate's.
Oh, yes.
I went to St. Kate's. Well, I went my first year of college. I went to Montana, and I did not like it. I wanted to come back.
Okay.
So then when I came back, I went to St. Kate's, and then I was like, oh, duh. Yeah, and then the rest is
history.
I mean, I had a flat top in high school and didn't know anything.
Really?
Yeah. I'm just sporty. Hey guys, I'm just sporty.
That's cute.
You know, I like sports.
Not that all lesbians like sports.
No.
You know, there's 2% that don't.
Yeah.
You know.
If that.
Yeah. And I really like your new scissoring joke.
Oh my god.
Maggie has a new scissoring joke that is putting my scissoring joke to shame.
What is your scissoring joke?
So
sometimes I do a show and people don't know what scissoring is, and I feel it my duty to help and explain. In case you don't know, it's a sexy thing, and this is like my PSA for you. Okay, let's pretend that these are two lesbians, and this is their legs, and they're like, one's like, hi, I'm a lesbian. Me too. I don't really know what happens after that. That's always as far as I ever get. I'm a pretty shitty lesbian, you guys. No, but then they're like, wow, I think we have a lot in common. Let's move in together. That's the lesbian order of things. So they pack up one Subaru and they drive to the other. Do you know why lesbians love Subarus? Because it rhymes with boobaroo. That's the dumbest joke I'm gonna tell. All right, listen. Okay. But so then maybe the first night they just watch some Netflix movies and they spoon on the couch and just cuddle, and then later they have tea and cry, because that's really actually what happens. But then the second night it gets crazy, you guys. They can get hot and they're making out, and then their legs, they become razor sharp torso cutting machines, and they try to get in there and just chop each other in half, just grinding around. That's what's. This is not a thing, you guys. All right? The boys made this up for their pornos. We don't actually do this, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you guys, though. I did try it once just to make sure. Yes, the only thing that this is itchy. I was like, one of us needs to shave way more or way less, all right? This is more like a Velcro vice grips than scissors. I love that joke because it's like you're talking over the laughter, because it's just continuous, and then when you're done, they need a second to recover, and you have to just stand up there and let them recover. I've never had a joke like that before, so it's pretty exciting, actually.
I pulled away all the petals so that the garden wouldn't lose all its flowers. Then the wind it started to scream, blowing away the colors. Well, I wanted to work so, I wanted to work so, I wanted to work so bad. Well, if you blame it on me, then you blame it on love. Love is all I have. Wasn't about the money or all the battles we fought.
All right, my name is Adonia Kyle. I'm from Minneapolis. I'm a dancer, a makeup artist, a DJ, a drag king, and a burlesque performer. RuPaul was my first idol, and then it was Tyra Banks, so I love drag queens. There's this, I don't know whether it's the package or the contouring or the chest, but there's this machismo confidence, and I feel really sexy and really fun. Cute group. Cute helping. So you can blow them up pretty big. Okay. Because then it makes it easier to pop them. And then we'll throw safety pins through the end. And this is the fun part. Oh my god.
How many do you need?
30. Don't worry about it. Man, I gotta take you guys out to lunch for this. My pasties I make out of felt. And then, like, you just buy regular thongs and you crystal. We call it stripper crack. Because it comes in little baggies.
Sing up!
burlesque is the art of striptease. So it doesn't always have to be striptease. It's can be vaudeville or variety, any sort of act. It's a space to create and be that it's okay to be sexy and that it's consensual and art and fun.
There's rhinestones on everything. It's like if it doesn't sparkle, then you don't want it. And body glitter, which is also great because Shannon hates body glitter. And like that's what everybody told me when I started dating her. They're like, she hates body glitter. And I was like, okay, I was born into glitter, so
That's a weird thing for. She must really hate it if people know that about her.
She hates it so much, and it's hilarious. And so one time, I think we were like arguing or something, and I like took my clothes because we did this holiday production, and so everything we threw snow from our costumes this last year, and I took out my bag and I noticed snow and glitter fell out, and I shook it over the bed, and I was like, hee like while she was sleeping.
Gosh, being queer. I identify by not really identifying. I think of it as that I love a spirit and not a body. So it doesn't matter what someone is physically.
So yeah, I know. You kill me. Stupid. This is an advertisement for what not to do. This is safety 101. Don't do anything I do. I'm sorry. Woo! So that happens. I feel like a sexual Ninja Turtle. You just need to eat some pizza. Oh man, let me tell you about doing an act where I eat pizza on stage. Because that is where I want to be. I just want to eat a pizza. I would actually like to time it. If the world was great, I'd like to time it where I get a pizza delivered to me on stage, and then I just eat that pizza.
Hurry up, Aminette, please come with us.
There you go. All right. Showtime.
Almost there now.
Are we on the second one now?
Yep, Magnolia is going on.
Okay, so I should go upstairs?
Yep, I would.
Okay. Shit.
If you can.
I can do it. I believe I can fly, girl. All right.
Let me see those eyes, just let me see those eyes. Let me see those eyes, just let me see those eyes. You can try to run, you can try to hide, and if you got to try, let me see those eyes. I've had us on my mind for a while now. We've been through heaven and hell. I can feel your speculation flowing on my neck. Though you keep proper like a solid bell. Well, sit your ass down and let me see those eyes. Just let me see those eyes. Let me see those eyes. Just let me see those eyes. You can try to run, you can try to hide, even if you got to try. Let me see those eyes. You turn your head whenever I pleasure you, and cover your mouth when I make you scream.
Well, I got my start in drag. Actually, it's an interesting story. It's very Schwab's, Lana Turner at Schwab's. We used to, all us young gays used to go to this restaurant called the White Spot, an after-hours place. So we'd go to the 3-2 Club. That was the 18 plus, but we couldn't get into any of the big drag clubs. But we'd go to where they would all go and eat after at the White Spot. So we'd all sit there and look at all the stars coming in. And one day, the star's husband came over and asked me to join him at their table, which was unusual. And they offered me a job. They said, or a career actually. She said, I think you could do this. Something about how I hold court at my table and my bone structure and, you know, how people talk. And I'm like, oh, they're trying to get me in bed or whatever. But it turned out to actually be one of the best things that's ever happened to me. She taught me about clothing and makeup and music choices and not just appeasing the lowest common denominator, but actually trying to go within yourself and figure out what it is you want to say or do. Because anybody could be pretty or anybody could go out and be angry, but find what's in you and then let that come out, and then the people will respond to it. So that's how I started my drag career.
And how old were you? If you don't mind.
17 was my first time in drag. I remember I was ironing. My father was watching TV. I was back of him ironing. And the day I came out, well, I decided I'm going to come out because a gay story came on TV. And my father said something. It wasn't negative, but he commented on it. And I said, well, what would you do if I told you I was gay? And I remember he kind of just looked at me and said, duh, and kept watching TV like it was nothing. So I kept ironing. I was like, okay. So I said, but let me tell Mama. I really didn't know how she was going to take it. I know her image was very important to her about the family. She wanted to, you know, present her educated, well-dressed, well-groomed, happy family. And here I am, you know, pink bows in my hair. And so when I told her, she kind of freaked out. And I learned later on in life that it's really because she wanted me to have more. And she thought by being gay, I was diminished. And so somehow I had to show her that I wasn't, that it was actually an additive for me to live a free, open, honest life. And it's not like I was asked, because at 14 people don't really ask your sexuality, but, you know, people would say things like, you act like a girl, or, you know, you're pretty like a girl. Matter of fact, till I was 12 or 13, everyone thought I was a little girl. Me and my sister were at an amusement park once, and we were getting on the Colossus, and these two guys were in line with us, and my sister was flirting with one, and one was talking to me, but I didn't get what he was saying. And then my sister gets in the front car with this guy, and then I get in this car behind them with this other guy, and he put his arm around me, and I went, oh. And I thought he was gay, or I didn't even know what it was gay then, but that he liked boys, like I liked boys. And then she said, why do you have your arm around my brother? And he went, brother? And that's, yeah. So, you know, you get those little snippets of being taught about sex and sexuality and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, you know, in life. And it kind of makes you like overly cautious about who you can talk to. And that just sucked. So I just came out. And it didn't go well at first, but it did, because I was free. And that, and I never looked back. I mean, I never, ever hid anything about me after that. I thought I'm an open book, because I'm not ashamed of anything I do.
How do you feel about the word queer?
I don't mind the word queer, because it means unusual, and to be usual, to me, to me means cookie cutter. And I hold unusual as a badge. So queer is definitely a banner I would stand under proudly. I'm queer, yes. I'm odd. I'm not of the norm. Those are all good things to me. So I don't get offended very easily. Minneapolis, well, the Twin Cities, but basically Minneapolis, the art scene, music, art, culture, food, nightlife, all that is, it was astounding to me how amazing and strong it was here. Everything is so world class that you wouldn't expect it to be. You'd expect it more to be in Chicago. But I think we kicked Chicago's butt because the Twin Cities got it right. They left the art to the artists and not the producers. And I think that it shows. And it's not a place to retire. It's actually a place you come and you gotta up your game because it challenges you. What are you about? You have an idea of Minnesota until you get here. And then you're totally retrained about what it is to be here because there's no other place like it on the planet. And it's kind of like Hawaii. Everyone should come to Minnesota just to get a taste because they'll like it. I mean, it's that remarkable.
Oh my God. This place is amazing. I mean, for all the arts that it has and all the organization, all the smart people that go out to all these events and support all these things, it's unbelievable. There's no other place like it. And I love it here. And I always said, unless someone is saying you have to come out to LA or New York, if someone hands me a pile of money, I will go for a while.
Right.
And I will come back.
I feel like Minneapolis is this little mix of Austin, Texas meets Portland. It's like this weird little mix of that, smaller than both. It's like rock and roll meets really PC gay. I dig that.
You know, everybody who feels like an outcast or a freak in kind of the states that surround us gravitate to Minneapolis as kind of their first step to get out of those places. So you've got this kind of great feeding pool of art and freaky and personality, and then that kind of all gets mixed up together. And you know, if people want to move on, then they'll go to Chicago or New York or San Francisco, whatever. They always come back.
Creativity is just amazing in Minnesota because of the weather, because of our yucky lutefisk or whatever.
Stop it. But no, we have 4 distinct seasons. We have a really hot, muggy summer. We have a beautiful fall. We have apple trees. Like, fall is so magical. I'm such a dork about this. She's gonna roll her eyes. You know, and you go into winter, we have like these beautiful, snowy holiday season. Oh, I'm such a sucker for the holidays. I'm just like cheery and like, oh, it's snowing. I made cookies. And then spring is like this time for revival and rejuvenation. And
Minneapolis. For me, making it as an artist means being able to support myself financially doing art, and I absolutely believe it's possible here in the Twin Cities. I know people who are doing it. I'm fairly well on the way of doing it myself.
How's it been being a part of this? What do you think about, like, you know, being out in the community, people seeing what you do? Why is that important?
It's important to me because I didn't have that, you know, growing up. And I know that now, since we're in the age of everything being digital or, you know, technologically based, then now, you know, there's a better chance of, you know, kids being, say, off in the boondocks or, you know, bumfuck Louisiana or something. There's more of a chance that they will be able to reach out. If they can't get out, they can reach out at least through the internet or through social media and stuff. I wanted to be a part of this, you know, mainly so that I can represent, you know what I'm saying? Yes, it's possible that you can be a black male, openly gay, not changing who you are, how you act in order to be that, being comfortable with it, also being all that and doing hip hop. or being all that and doing something that's predominantly dominated by some other thing, something that's other, you know what I'm saying, other than you. When you're always the one that's being considered or told you are the other, you know.
I have made some of the best friends making this movie. I realized I was kind of in the story that was happening, and I was kind of outside of the story, kind of as a newcomer coming into the situation, and kind of what a unique vantage point that gave me. Because I think I saw something in all these people that they necessarily, not that they didn't see it in themselves, but I don't think they knew how overwhelming it was. Just for me to see them being them. I think about all of those people that are living more removed from this, that they feel so alone. I want them to know that we're out here, that we're doing this, that they can do it too.
It's kind of like the end, but it's also kind of like the beginning. Like people are still like forging ahead, you know, doing their things.
Yeah.
So it's an end/beginning.
Go forth. Make queer art.
Make queer art. Deep Thoughts with Sarah McPeck. Well, it's been a journey, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I think we made a movie.